later because I was out mowing over the grass and,
He was
stuff all over.
He's from Las Vegas.
He's allergic from outdoors, you know, we do nothing.
KC Santa, Saltbush Lake.
Good afternoon. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a workshop of the City Council of Fort Walton Beach on Monday, August 12th, 2024. If you'd stand with me, please, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is up in the corner to the left of the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, item 3 on the agenda is a discussion of the proposed 2024-25 comprehensive budget.
Thank you, Mayor. As we get into this workshop today, obviously it's meant to be an open discussion, and I know as well as everybody else in here that you all get requests from citizens probably daily, if not weekly, on things they would like to see in their neighborhood or roads or playgrounds or whatever it may be. So this discussion, we've tried to include some of the things that we've heard from you all, and also in our department directors and the citizens as well, trying to put this budget together. So as we go through this, if there's, get into the kind of the nuts and bolts of it, if there's some things that feel free to stop me and we can discuss another project or whatever, or feel free to make comments on projects we're talking about. So as we get into this, again, it's an open discussion. As we get into the actual budget, which is all web-based now, it's a lot different than I'm accustomed to. This is my 20th budget to be part of, and 19 of them were an Excel spreadsheet type budget that you put, there's formulas for every single line item. This is all web-based, and it's going to be a lot better for everybody, the citizens, the council, the department heads, the staff, everybody. It'll take some getting used to what we're used to looking at as opposed to a book as compared to this. So as we go through it, we're all, I've always said this, we're all in this together. So I know our finance staff, Nicole and her staff and Carol, have put in a ton of time on the website part of it, in the budget, and it's really been an undertaking, but we know there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we're working towards that. But so some of what we want to do first, just kind of go over the slide. Is that one working, Jeffrey? There you go. Is that one?
You want this mouse?
Yeah, I want to see that one. So the objectives today, we're going to talk a little bit about the current projects that we have going on, the projects that are proposed in the budget that you have in front of you today, future projects that are on the horizon, and then in the overall budget, the 2024 budget discussion. So a project update that we have going on here now, the first one that has been going on for quite some time, the landing. Just a few pictures of each of these projects that we have. The landing is in phase 2 now. The steel's on order for the stage. You'll notice that's just a picture of the east side over there where there's a tiered steps with AstroTurf there. Synthetic turf there on the east side, and we're working on doing some of that stuff on the west side as well. The boardwalk's done, the new seawall's completed, the golf cart parking lot there, and the restrooms will be coming up soon. We're going to do a restroom on the east side and the west side, and the stage will start construction here. Again, the material's on order. They've already started driving piles into the ground for that. So, at the end of the day, the landing is going to be a gem of the area, not even just the city, but the entire community. So it's something we're really looking forward to. Both the T dock on the west side and the other dock on the east side are complete, and just moving forward on that one. The museum addition, we're looking at possibly into September completion on that one, first part of October. That is a 4,500 square foot addition, 2-story. It's got, office area, a large entrance area which kind of leads into to the museum. Some much needed storage space, classroom space, just a really nice addition which will be right in the middle of downtown. Yes?
Going back to the bathrooms and all that, are you gonna have automatic locks on it? So
Absolutely.
someone doesn't have to actually do this right here?
Yes, ma'am.
So whenever, at 11 o'clock at night, lock?
Yep.
Is that a?
We will.
Open up at 6?
We're actually moving up, as we move forward, all of our bathrooms will be like
And
that.
how about the lights? Are those gonna be automatic also?
At the parks, we'll have, the lights will stay on all night, the security lights will stay on all night.
And how about the, whenever you, electrical things, outlets, are they gonna be turned on automatically?
I don't know about automatically on that, that's something we have to look at. We've ran into some issues where it gets to be where somebody's running down there in the 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to turn breakers on, so we'll have to get creative for that aspect of it.
You know
To
where I'm
make
going
those.
with that, don't
I
you?
do, yep. People illegally using the plugs. Moving forward, on the next slide here, the Preston Hood turf fields, they were completed back in April, late March, early April, and they were a gigantic success. They have, there was a lot of travel tournaments that utilized that, and we had some pouring down rain days, and the minute it quit raining, they were playing again. So it saved tons of hours of waiting and maintenance and everything, and that was a TDC funded project and something that's been a real good positive experience for us as a city, but also the people that utilize that facility as well. The mural wall at the library, that's just one of the 5 pictures there, but it turned out really well. Those of you that have driven by, we're in the process, I mentioned just a little bit ago, we're in the process of discussing the lease agreement. Councilman Walker asked that at the beginning of the meeting. We had a conversation with them today, so we are working on, hopefully that will be coming back to council on August 27th, just working out some insurance, some deals, and some lease renewals that we're working on that. Cemetery building is complete, the staff is in there, and again, all these projects have been going on this year, so, you know, really the directors and the staff, and some of them are contractors, and you know, getting these projects done in our community has been, it feels good to cross some of these things off the list, because some of them have been going on a long time, but it's really good to have these things done. The staff's in the cemetery building, turned out to be a beautiful building. The old one will be demolished, and we'll kind of formulate into some extra parking over there at the entranceway. The Hollywood extension is really something that Councilman Schmidt was involved in at the beginning with Lynn, what was her? Cunningham, Miss Cunningham. She had a husband that passed away and wanted to donate these benches to the city. When we kind of looked down at this park, you know, what a great view over the water, just kind of ended with a concrete block wall, so we ended up developing this deck with the handrail and installed the benches there. It's just been a really nice addition to the end of Hollywood Boulevard. Ferry Park Fitness Court is complete. They finished that about a week and a half ago. We are, the shade sails being manufactured now. It will cover the entire court. And once that is manufactured, they will have that installed at the fitness court. We're actually required through that grant process to do a really nice ribbon cutting, so we may need some of you and your family and kids up there to help out with that ribbon cutting, so that'll be a nice event. Ferry Park pickleball courts, has been updated. They poured the asphalt over in the last few days, so the asphalt right now it looks like a parking lot, but it is a pickleball court, and there'll be 5 lit pickleball courts fenced in. So Ferry Park with the fitness court and the pickleball courts is really going to be a jewel for us. It has been, but it's even getting better.
Some of the people over at Jet Drive have discovered that they're going to have lights over here at Ferry Park. They want to know when we're going to get lights over at Jet.
Well, and really that's something that we are doing today. And if it's something that you hear from those, you know, we can bring it up, we can get some costs, and we would bring that back in September and say, you know, do we want to do lights? It would be $80,000 or whatever it may be, and that's something we can jot down and some of these projects, and we can get costs for you. Other projects we have going on, lift station 40, and the directors are obviously in here and have a lot of detail if you have questions on some of the ones that are going on, but lift station 46 is complete. The meter project, some of you are very well aware of that and how that's going. We've got about 65 to 70% of that done. There's been about 7,000, Daniel, meters in out of the total number. So it's been a project that, you know, it was over a $5 million project from start to finish with the meters and the installation and everything, and it's something we had $3.6 million of grant money that we utilized with that project. So it's been a good project, and it'll be really, really nice to have that one complete. Brooks Bridge Utilities, asphalt street paving, and you all drive the streets as like, you know, we all do, and you see some of those streets being repaved, and obviously we're going to continue to work that in the budget every year to get those upgraded.
They say thank you, the residents say thank you.
Yeah, they do it when the street's repaved. It's obviously upgrades in neighborhood for sure. The Bay Drive water access, we do have the bid package together, and this is something that we're going to bid out to a contractor. Daniel's crew's got so many things going on to be able to jump on this project here at the end of Bay. That's a project we're going to bid out, and it'll be a sidewalk, covering that ditch, piping that in, building the end of the road up. It'll be something that's hopefully will hold up a little bit better than it is right now. Jed Holmes restrooms, Tiffany, is that end of this month?
End of August.
End of August for the restrooms at Jed Holmes. Everything's plumbed up, ready to go. They drop it in place and seal it, and it'll be usable.
We should have a ribbon cutting for that.
We can do that too. There'll be a lot of people there, I'm sure. Library Park, we just discussed that one. Again, that's something that I think would really update the downtown area, and something to be a nice amenity with, you know, with our city. And then Sound Park lighting, we do have a pole that is installed across the street now. A contractor's installing those. Couldn't get them all done by tonight, but they did want to get one installed. So as you leave here tonight, take a look at it. It's right there off the parking lot to the right. It's a same pole as we have at the landing, same lighting fixtures at the landing, so they'll all be uniform. So moving into proposed projects for 24-25 budget, we've got now the neighborhood traffic improvements was a result of the traffic study that was done in the current year that we're in, and moving forward, and some of that is signage and crosswalks and things like that for the improvements. And it also leads into a traffic study that we'll do this year, which is the Elliott Point area, Hollywood area and south. Some of that was generated from the heavy emails and phone calls that we got from the Brooks Bridge back up into Magnolia and all those streets back there. So, you know, we'll look at doing that this year. And those are both half-cent sales tax projects. Some water line replacement, and this one's out of Utilities Department with Daniel's department. Street resurfacing again. Daniel, some of the streets we're going to do, if you want to comment on that, you can just do it from there. Just name a couple of streets we can.
Yeah, I have them here. I don't want to yell them out because there's two in front.
So
I don't want to kid anybody.
I'll tell you what, we'll post something on our social media, but we are doing various number of streets this year. I know there's some in Kenwood, a few in Kenwood, and
Yeah, so we have, and subject to what this is conceptually what we can fit in for $500,000, but we have the rest of Kroll Drive from Memorial to Hollywood Boulevard, Stafford Circle from Mooney to the cul-de-sac, Carlisle Court northeast from Marionette to the cul-de-sac, Choctawhatchee Road southeast from Elliott Road to Hollywood Boulevard northeast, Holmes Boulevard from the intersection of Wright Parkway northeast to Maryland Avenue is what we had, and basically on a schedule basis. It is kind of dynamic, we can fit more, then we fit more. We usually never come under on that end, and realize that there's more that need to be done, but this is where we are.
yeah. All right, so yeah, from street resurfacing, go on to the next one there. So we've got some sewer system lining, again, another utilities project, and a lift station number 11 replacement, and that's a $600,000 project in the budget in the utilities division as well. Some park and complex lighting, so all the lighting, pole lighting and everything at Oakland Park behind Home Depot was direct line burial years and years and years ago. A lot of those don't work. They're extremely difficult to find. So this would include new conduit, new electrical work, paneling, fencing, and at Vesta Heights and lighting, and at Kenwood Park. As you can see, they're on the list. We also have some playground earmarked for Kenwood. They did a parking lot turnaround at Kenwood for their school, and it kind of cut into the playground a little bit, which was the school board's property. So we're going to upgrade some of that playground, put some new fencing up, and make that park a little bit nicer. Chester Pruitt Lights and the restroom, we've gotten some of you as well as members of the public. The restroom there has gotten pretty bad over the years. That would include a demolition of that and one of the prefabricated restrooms there, and also some park lighting. There's been a request for a small stage area there as well. They do a lot of events and speaking engagements there, so we're looking at doing that as well. Brook Street parking lot, this was the one that we're working with the Norman family. This is earmarked in the budget. The actual agreement still needs to come to council for the lease. So obviously we would, based on council's decision for that, if that is approved, we would go in and turn that into a parking lot, which would be an extension of the landing. CRA wayfinding, the picture on the right is for the wayfinding signs, kind of shows you kind of what we're looking at, and Chris and his group do with that, some of in the CRA area. And there's 5 or 6 projects from the police facility improvements that they're doing over there. We kind of just combined them into one.
How many parking spaces would that add on the Brooks?
35 to 40. Traditional.
Jen,
That was the,
before the director speaks, would you put these over there for
Sure.
them? We can't hear it on the recording. Thank you.
yeah, that was, the question was the how many parking spots for the downtown with the Norman property, and it was 35 to 40. Yep, so good, then it would connect into the landing. So,
How about the parking next door to Heritage Park, where it's just haphazard parking?
yeah, we don't have any plans right now to pave that, and one of the reasons was looking at, as we have the bridge and the Around the Mound coming up, there's been some discussions on straightening out that road as it kind of curves to the east. So, rather than coming in there, and we need a plan together before we want to do something like that.
Because right now they're haphazard and hitting each other. And
It'll be better when the construction's done and they're out of there, and then there'll actually be some actual, people can see where they're supposed to park. With construction fence and work trucks in there, it's difficult, but I agree with you, they're all over the place in there.
Mr. Mayor, I saw late today, probably an hour before I came here, that KC Sandbar and Grill is closing. 18 years in business there at that spot. And they said that for the next 2 nights, today, I think it's tomorrow night and Wednesday night, we're going to be having 50% off of everything, and stop by and see the staff and everything else. So just thought I'd mention that. So hate to see that go, and hopefully something comes back there soon.
Wow, did not know that.
18 years, yeah, it was like an hour, 2 hours ago.
I know we'll probably learn more at the September 10th CRA meeting, but this budget expectation for the lighting at both Oakland Complex, Kenwood, Vesta Heights, as well as Chester Pruitt, have we already gotten in some bids from the contractors to build this cost, or is this a conceptual rough estimate on it?
The cost for Oakland has been a firm quote on that one, as well as we've got a fencing contractor for chain link fence that we have. They're on a yearly contract. Some of the park lighting can be done in-house, and the bathrooms they're on state contract, the ones that we've been ordering.
Okay.
So yes, to answer your question.
Because, last CRA meeting, there was a lot of conversation about lighting, very part, and all that, as we go through the budget conversation. I'm just curious if we were backing this cost into quotes that have been rolling in as we get closer to the next CRA meeting to
Correct,
hopefully
yes.
approve some, or
It is.
get the funding to approve it, but all right, thank you.
It is, it is. Some proposed, again, kind of moving forward, so utilizing some tourist development money that we have coming in. The turf, finishing up the Preston Hood Athletic Complex, the $675,000 to turf field 9 and 10 was approved through them, through our submittals. And the picture on the right is just kind of like after a regular rain. So that's a project we're including in the budget, looking forward to that. And then one thing that we have discussed with the TDC, getting a promissory note for the Pines Course Greens replacement. So what we would like to do on that one, there's about 4 or 5 different grass species on those greens. It comes down and digs out about 5 or 6 inches of that, replaces entirely, sprigs the greens, lets it grow together. At that point, it would probably be about a 3 or 4 month project to be able to renovate those greens, and we have gotten a quote from somebody. It would obviously be bid out at that level, but we have gotten a quote for that price right there. So it was, that's something that would start, if approved, in April of 25.
A turf grass sprigs?
It's grass. It's a Bermuda type
Oh, I was gonna
grass.
say, because I didn't think.
Yeah,
turf-
they sprigs means they kind of plant like little
Oh.
grass plants, and then it grows together.
Well, the people, including myself in the neighborhood there, appreciate, even though it's costly, the turf grass, not playing until midnight and 1 o'clock in the
does.
morning.
Yeah, the maintenance, as far as the synthetic turf, the savings on maintenance is unbelievable
Yeah.
with the mowing and the striping, and it's unbelievable how much time, and they make, years ago, everybody heard that, you're tearing ACLs and stuff like that, getting on the turf grass, and a lot of injuries and things like that. That grass has come such a long way, that a lot of places you can't even tell that it's not real grass. It's really, really come a long way, and the prices have come down, and it's getting really, really more beneficial.
Has there been any talk or discussion about working with the TDC in the future to turf those outfields as well? Because I know that, I coached a season over there this year on that turf, and it was really nice. But during those big rains, and I know there were some drainage issues, and that was something that
Sure.
you guys were trying to work on, et cetera, but it really did slow things down and canceled a weekend of games just because, hey, the outfields are flooded.
Yeah.
And while the infield is completely dry and beautiful and it worked out great, those outfields not being turfed as well. And I know that's a significant cost and all of that, but, when I see TDC money that's going all over the county, and we're always advocating for our fair share, and I know our members are doing their job to pitch those projects, but, that's kind of like the final step in making those fields really usable all the time.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. It was cost related, trying to get the infields done as the first step because we didn't really know. I mean, when we did that, it was kind of like, I hope this works, it's been phenomenal.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, but it stands out.
Yep.
Not being
So-
done in the outfield. So
Yeah, and this is it's ongoing to
Yeah.
where, we have to come up with good projects. We get to come up with good projects every year, and it's allowed our complex to be even that much better. And we've got a meeting this week. We're moving over to Cal Ripken baseball. So, I know some of you that you have children that play baseball. That's something that we'll get all the details and kind of blow that out. But that's going to be a great move for us, I think, as well.
Jeff, before we move on to the future projects, just to kind of, I would completely support what Nick's saying, for a couple of reasons. Before we just fly through this, and I know we've all had a long day, but that TDC money, for those that are listening, just, about to spend $750,000 on artificial grass. Very restricted on what we can do with the tourist funds.
Yep.
And I think what Mr. Allegretto highlighted is very important for us where the local players were playing, and the team that you were coaching, and the outfield that, it's not just for the tourist tournaments who come in town. It's a way that we can fund some higher performing programs and attract some, not just good athletic talent, but local folks that have something to be proud of to play on. And as you're talking to contractors regularly about the expansion of this complex and things like that, as we go to this budget cycle, I would completely support what we can get from TDC. But I know there's a lot of things from the budget that spread around.
Sure.
But I would completely support what Mr. Alligator was mentioning.
Well, and again, the Preston Hood Athletic Complex is something that obviously generates a lot of play, out-of-state play, which is what they're looking for. Initially they, really would like it outside of the summer season, and when the recreation staff has done that, I believe there's tournaments every weekend for a few months here now with baseball and softball. So it's something that continues to generate revenue, and so those projects like that are definitely something we can get done.
And also it would cut down on maintenance, the mowing and.
No doubt.
But I would appreciate that because they like to
No.
start at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Interrupt your coffee.
That's right.
And other,
So,
Jeff, I will chime in and just say the same thing. I agree with both you guys, and I guess since I'm on that board, I should let both you guys know that I'll do my best to start working on that and asking for that as well. That's what we're all gonna try to work towards. And, yeah,
yep, absolutely. We
definitely
thank you.
support it,
If you're looking for consensus, I agree. I think it's a great idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Kind of moving into the future projects, and I say future, like this one's, the bid opens tomorrow, August 13th, so hopefully there was 40-something people in here. We did the pre-bid meeting, and we did send out, speaking of the synthetic turf, we did put out an alternate bid to have those athletic fields to be that synthetic turf as well, so we'll kind of see what those are. What you'll notice on the right side of this screen that we had added in the middle of it was a 13-court pickleball complex. 8 of them are covered with a stadium court, and that was discussed with Okaloosa County through their TDC. They had called, just a real quick background story on that. They had called and said, "Is there any way you guys have any areas we can help you build pickleball complex?" And kind of back and forth. We talked about the tennis center. And then came to the conclusion that this complex would be the best place to do that. So the county will fund some of this project with us, depending on what the prices come back at pickleball, but they are going to be involved in that.
I've been talking to them, I think I shared that with you.
You did.
People would say, well, get this and get this. I said, well, where do you live? Well, I live in, well, that's the county.
Right.
So I've been talking to the county people too. So,
Yeah, kind of they say you can host a pretty good tournament if you have 12 pickleball courts, and so this would be 13 with a stadium court with some bleachers and things. So it would be a pretty hot with a parking lot that's got 300 or 400 parking spaces there. So it'll be a pretty good location to do that.
And Jeff, I'm sure it'd be managed very well, but is that gonna be something that would be needed to, I know we're getting in the weeds of it, but just the quality of life, these are great quality of life things. Is that open to the public, those kind of things, or is it?
That would be open to the public, and obviously tournaments and things like that would have to be
Scheduled,
reserved
blacked out and all
and
that.
scheduled and paid for.
Awesome, thank you.
I know that when this came up a couple of months ago, I think it's the same one, I just want to check. Is this the one that but prior to it becoming designated city property for parks, it was up for bid for affordable housing? One of the proposals was for affordable housing on this property?
It was brought up, this location, there was 3 submittals. One was a car dealership.
Yep.
One was a
RV
RV park, and the third presentation was a sports complex. I don't remember affordable housing, but I made.
No, I'm
about
sorry,
Lake Drive.
not affordable housing.
Oh.
It was just, it was to be developed for housing. Just
I don't
housing.
recall that being it
Okay.
just because of the ground underneath it was an old dump site, so.
It's all dump site at one time.
Yes,
It was.
so
It was.
this is the question I wanted to ask about this. I see that 300 or 400 space parking lot, and that looks awesome and obviously much needed with that entire facility as a whole. But, one of the big things that right before those buildings were torn down and that parking lot demolished is it looked like, a rough day on the bay.
Yeah.
Driving through that parking lot with a lot of waves and things, and it's not like it was that old. And I know that technology's probably come a good long way since then, et cetera, and I'm sure that we don't want to get into, let's dig out every piece of 1940s and 50s trash that's buried under there. But at the same time, if we're going to invest this amount of money in this project, we need probably somebody that's bidding on at least this parking lot that has some sort of experience with, hey, how do we make sure that, this lasts as long as possible and we're not seeing heavy deterioration, cracking, big dips and all these things in this parking lot right away. And I know we don't know who's going to bid and all of that, but it might also require the parking lot to be a separate package.
Yeah.
To where somebody would have that kind of experience and knowledge.
Yeah, Daniel could probably speak in a little bit more detail on that as far as the compaction rate and testing, soil testing that they do there.
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly don't want to get into all of it.
I think it was, you're not going
Okay.
to, but yes, during the during the pre-bid, it's, biggest concern, obviously I was a tenant over there
Yeah.
for a period of time. I will say in there's class 3 unsuitable material removal, like a unit price, because I think it's the biggest unknown. And so that bid will have, so we're not doing this when, hey, no one's surprised about it. I mean, it was
Right.
brought up. We have a unit price for removal on there, but
So the plan would
100%.
be then to dig some of that stuff out of there and fill it with dirt?
the plan would be to remove it and fill it as needed. We've never dug up everything on the whole site, right? Like, so we don't know everything that's
Right.
there. But we do know some of those parking spaces where some of that suitable material will probably need to be removed.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, Kim? Oh,
Well, I was a spectator during that whole time, so I know what was being dug up. So make sure it goes to the appropriate place, not just the landfill, but to the hazard.
Class
Because there was a big,
Yes.
definitely.
EPA.
Yeah, that's
concern.
part of the bid package. They've got to dispose of it appropriately. This one, again, this was something that from the beginning that Travis and I worked on from probably a year and plus ago, but has it been that long? Jeez, 3 years ago, sorry. But we had a task force out there with MRD and Jason Floyd and a few others that did the design plans for this. The permitting is complete on this. And as you can see, this is a rendering, but it would include all new trailer parking, boat launch area that is definitely needed. Some pavilions, new restrooms, and we'll eventually put some new playground and stuff in there as well. So it'll be a really, really nice project. This does fall, the county has earmarked $1 million for this as a waterfront project that we're really excited about partnering with them on, and it does fall on the CRA and half-cent sales tax project, so we've got some funding to do something, really nice here. So it'll be another project as you come into Fort Walton Beach to see this as well.
Joe?
Yep.
I don't know the legal side of it, maybe Mr. Burns can help me out with that, but are we able to provide for that service, and anybody out of the county would have to put some skin in the game to continue to use that beautiful park? Or would you even be able to do something like that with anybody outside of the county?
Are you saying would be free for residents, but you can
Everybody
charge?
inside of Okaloosa County is free, but outside of Okaloosa
You
County.
can do something like that. You could do it just for residents of the city too, if you wanted to.
I
But I
think-
guess since the county's gonna be involved, you probably have to work it out with them.
Because county, I mean, the TD is countywide. I like this collaboration that we're having with the county. Okaloosa County continue to water access, but just didn't know if we could help. A
You
lot of
can,
people
yeah.
outside of the county that are looking for boat launches to get to, which is impacting the cost of the maintenance of those parking lots or things like that.
Well, and the thing is, as you all know, that, years ago when we had a parking permit, and you had to put $5 in an envelope, and it went into the pay to park type deal, and some people were upset that they had to pay and put 400 pennies in there, and those days are way.
But now they got stuff like QR codes. I don't know
Right.
much about the business, but apparently others have been talking about some
Right.
of the maritime life and the
Sure.
water life that has some transient dock things that we can do with docks. Didn't know if there was anything out there in this kind of service for the boat launches and things like that could program it to anybody. I don't know how the data works, but anybody outside of the county. But again, not to get too much in the weeds.
Sure.
Beautiful project. I'm excited about hearing it being a continuous project that we're working on.
Sure. Well, it's just not even digging the weeds on that one too, but even the parking discussion that we have here for City Hall, their camera readers read license plates, so things that are outside of Okaloosa County can be determined based on the tag.
Yeah,
For sure.
I would be supportive of it.
Yeah. Another project that we have discussed, I know for many years, but just in the last 4, 5, 6 months, the plan is to get an RFQ issued and let people submit their qualifications in, build a team together to rank those and bring it back to council for discussion and to see if we would like to move forward with redeveloping a new city hall here on this site. So that's something that we, we're in the middle of some budget stuff right now. We can get an RFQ out. Hopefully, we can get one out here in the next couple months and get something back
So
for you all.
what is in the proposed 2025 budget that's allocated towards this? I mean, because I'm ready to move or work towards moving, to build on this site and get City Hall going. But what is allocated in the 2025 budget for the next steps of City Hall?
So nothing right now. We would send the RFQ out, take, as long as it was out to get their qualifications. And then once it goes to council and gets awarded, you're probably getting into January type anyway. So what you would, if everything was moving forward at the progress like you're talking about, you would budget for design fees.
It would be a budget amendment once you guys approved
Yeah,
it, once
it
we
would
know the
come back
amount it would be.
And that kind of committee type thing you're talking about, because at the previous meeting, we talked about competing this out.
Sure.
So that process is moving forward and.
Yeah, we've got a lot of local, and I've even talked to just over asking questions, people asking questions, and that is something you all as a council wanted to do as well. We had some inquiries, just local people that live local.
That's right.
Wanted to bid on this as well, so.
In a discussion this past week I had with you, you were talking about soccer fields or possibly that soccer field behind City Hall, right here. You were talking about that possibly being a site for a new City Hall.
Yeah, the thought process would be, because it has to be raised up based on where the flood zone is, it would have to come up about 5 feet. So it would be built on the fields back there with the notion that the bids for the athletic complex, adding 4 new athletic fields over there. So you'd have a little more of your sports at one location under one umbrella. And so that would actually benefit the residents, like the Jeters and the Schmidts that have them in all different age groups. They're not at City Hall. And
Would those soccer fields go over there to Hollywood? That
we
part that you're
would
talking
leave
about?
some green space here, but as far as a soccer field, that would be taken over to Hollywood, to the Preston Hood complex. Yes.
Right here?
Yep, correct.
All right. That's what I thought, but I wanted to clarify.
Now, this is something that we did not include in this budget, but I, speaking to some of you all, and when Daniel and I and Nicole met, the Hollywood Boulevard reconstruction, we're looking at about it's about a $3.5 million project. We went to try to get some legislative funding for that. It was denied. We didn't get any for that this year, so we didn't include it in the budget, just trying to keep the budget, down as much as possible. And so some of you had indicated that, maybe a good idea to get some design plans done this year, see what those come back out, then bid it back, ask for legislative funding again next year. If we don't get it again, then it may be something we would want to do out of half-cent sales tax, one of those big projects. But the $150,000 for design plans is not included in the proposed budget. But that's something you all want to look at doing. We can bring that back on September 10th with that included, or at least a line item.
Well, I've been talking to the legislators, and they said get your packet done early.
Yeah. Well, it's nice if you have design plans done,
Yeah.
ready to go,
Yeah.
and they know it's a serious project. It does help.
Well, I'm just
For sure.
sharing with you what I've been. You hear?
I got
Thank
it.
you.
Yes, I would highly support that. That's like we talked about, is it first or second deadliest intersection, or not deadliest, but most crashes, most response calls to that ferry in Hollywood? I thought it was,
we'd have to,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's probably first, but it'd be in the top, it'd be probably in the top 5 locations. It was once, I think there was 1 or 2 fatalities on Hollywood.
Yeah, there
Not
was.
directly related to the intersection, but around the intersection. So it has come up from time to time, and we could look to see where the top intersections are. I know Perry gets quite a bit. Perry 98 is probably the top, and that would probably be up there, like I said, in the top 5.
Yes, for me as well, 100%.
yes.
Are you okay? Yeah. So what we'll do is all of our capital projects, this one, and we had gotten some information from you all last week, the ones that we met with about moving forward with the design plans, and that's something that we definitely will include in the September 10th. What's that?
You want it half cent?
Yeah. That'd be a half-cent
To throw
project.
something out there on the design that we've discussed, bike path connecting.
Yep.
You got that 12-foot bike path coming over the bridge, and even people from the county are saying, where's it gonna go when it gets into Fort Walton? So if we're redoing that road, you only got a few blocks to connect it from the bridge to that road to get to that beautiful park that was just done at the end of Hollywood. So let's just keep all that in mind while we're designing it. We've already discussed that, and there's state money out there for
Chris,
that. We just gotta submit our trade.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll get,
Yeah.
and Daniel, we'll get together on that and come up with a plan on that, so we could at least mark out where the best area would be.
E-bike. It's my park.
So kind of moving into the budget breakdown and what we just discussed, the capital projects makes up, you know, a good portion of the, not only just the budget, but the time, the ones that the staff's doing, involved, and others are contractors as well. This year, we did have 10 individual budgets last year. We moved TDC fund, which is 110 now, and the half-cent surtax fund out, so that's 110 and 111, and really that's just more open transparency, you know, what projects do we have, where they're at. So you will notice in, if you go to the next slide, Kim, when you kind of get down into the overall, the budget, the projected revenues, and you'll look at it at $60,453,000. When you have the half-cent sales tax, for example, in years past, it was the revenue was budgeted, so we may bring in $2.5 million in revenue, but we would only budget. We were budgeting the expenses, which may have been $700,000 or $800,000 or 1 point whatever it was. This year, based on recommendations from the audit, finance staff, the entire expense is budgeted. So it actually increased expenses, but then we have to transfer that into the reserve, the fund balance for half cent. So it's more of a kind of to balance it, but it's a financial system. But so we budgeted the full amount of the revenue that we'll make, but it gets transferred into the fund balance. So that's just something that was recommended through them and the finance staff. Nicole and her team earmarked that in here this year. But you'll see, you know, our main sources of revenue come in. The charges for the services is close to $23 million. That's sewer collection, sanitation, solid waste, water operations, and even golf in there. Ad valorem taxes, as you probably know, but our millage rate is 4.6116, which generates $7.97 million in general fund and $1.6 million in CRA, for a total of $9.6 million. And again, that's you know, a little bit over, probably right at $32 million, so about half the revenues just for those, out of those two. The new budget software program that Nicole's gonna come up here in a little bit, you know, there's different bar graphs. You can look, you can play around with that for as long as you want. It's really interesting to get into some of the different divisions and the budgets and where the money comes from and where it goes and everything like that. So, you know, you can spend really as much time as you want on that, and Nicole will come up here in a little bit and just kind of walk everybody through that a little bit more. Expenses breakdown by department, and again, this is we have to provide a balanced budget, so the revenue comes in at $60,453,522, and the expenses are the same. They have to match that. Again, and that expenses is a $1.6 million from TDC, or from half-cent sales tax that we had to include in the expenses that'll get moved over into that fund balance account. But Public Works makes up a little bit over $20 million in expenses. Public Safety, which is police and fire, is about $17 million. Recreation, a little over $7 million. Capital projects, about $4 million. The ones that were included there, we've earmarked a few more in there today. So that budget, those expenses, you know, has to balance with the revenues that we show. Our personnel breakdown, we actually went down a little bit this year in FTE. We went from a little bit over 325 under that this year, so it went down about 0.58. Our personnel expenses increased a little bit, 4.3% up from last year, and some of that was due to the 10.9% health insurance that came in, and you know, the employees will see that 10.9% as well with them. So just as a side note, Terry said he meant to talk with Niceville. They were looking at anywhere from 17 to 20% increase in their health insurance. So it's just something we continually, you know, face every year. But you can see our operating expenditures, capital outlay, and some other grants and stuff. You know, the pie chart kind of shows where how that breaks down with the personnel. All right?
And Jeff, real
Yep.
quick, and I know you went through that quickly, but I want to highlight, Frank and his team, it took a lot to get those bid packages together. And I think that process, it shows that it was roughly a big, 25% savings compared to the other bids. The other municipalities are going up, and it's saving us so that we can reallocate into these awesome other projects. But I know we got a lot of business to go over, but just want to thank Franksman and his team for
Yeah, I mean,
putting
you
all
know,
that together.
and really the thing about health insurance is, trying to get creative and working with, because we've got employees and our employees are an asset to us, and we're fighting to keep them from going to other organizations that have maybe different benefits or better and stuff. So it's a game, as you all have businesses and things too, that, it's a constant process that, you have to get creative when you bid things out like this. You keep your fingers crossed and hope they're down. But at the end of the day, you kind of know there's going to be an increase. It just depends on how big of an increase that is.
Jeff,
Yep.
one more moment. Years and years used to go by, and we would say, please bid this, and it would always come up last minute. So I know it's a lot of effort, but it doesn't go unappreciated. Thank you.
That's
Getting ahead of it, as opposed to bringing it to us the week before and say, well, we'll do it next year, we don't have time. So I know it was a lot of effort, a lot of time, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Just the budget timeline is today's the 12th, which is our workshop. And I really would encourage you, and Nicole's going to come up here in a minute and go over the website, but I really would encourage you, just some of you have spent a lot of time on the website, but between now and the 10th, if you have some questions or comments or whatever, please reach out to us. You got a little bit less than a month, so we'll discuss the tentative millage and budget at that 10th meeting, and also then again the final one and the final budget's on the 24th, so it's right around the corner. But if Nicole, if you want to come up, she's gonna.
Should I sit at Kim's because the mouse isn't working?
You can, sure.
Can I
that'd be
switch
better.
with me?
Mr. Mayor, and Jeff, before she starts, I've got a couple of questions that may go well into your presentation. You can answer them right there live on the screen or whatever else.
Yeah. So you want to ask before I go in there?
You got a microphone over there?
Can you not?
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that one.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
I just got some, today, thank you for printing that, or getting it in PDF. Still not sure exactly how you did it. I got rid of one of the columns, so I was able to print it out. So, just this is the budget workshop, and as we go into this, and hearing all of the wonderful things that we're going to be able to possibly pull together and all, I can't help but think about all of the taxpayers out there that are really suffering and struggling to make ends meet, property taxes, insurance, cost of groceries, gas. And as I mentioned just today, 18-year-old business downtown, KC Sandbar Grill, going out of business, and all the service industry people that work down there, and there are renters here in the community, and expenses going on them. So I want to be very, very mindful of what we might be able to do better, more efficiently, with more detail. I'm not sure, but I have to keep them in my mind as we're going, because I'm seeing in my industry, which impacts our industry here soon, and that's the city industry I'm talking about. So residential sales, volume is down, number is down, interest rates are up. So at some, and sales values are down from Walton County all the way past. I mean, it's probably not just our neck of the woods, it's happening across the U.S. Inventory's up. So we know that with millage rate and property taxes and maybe expectations of values continuing to go up, when they actually come down, we're at a loss. And we're like, what do? We have to make it up. Where are we going to get it from? That kind of stuff. So I think we definitely need to be thinking about preparing for a downturn in revenue from new construction. Actually, some of the questions that I have here, I will hit some of the line items, but I see some big disparities between what was projected either on revenue and actual for 2024, and that's will be some of my questions there. You mentioned that the ClearGov, I guess that's what it is, and it is clearly different. I spent just a little bit of time on it, and when I went to download the financials, that's where I found that there was problems printing and looking at it. It was only 59 pages. I think last year's was 227 pages. So there's a distinct difference in previous and this one. And one of the things that I miss currently, I don't know how I might be able to fix it either through Nicole or others, is there's no previous year comparison. I can't see a trend from 2020, 21, 22. We get.
There is now, it was,
So we're having an issue with ClearGov right now. My budget analyst is on there. But we talked to Councilman Smith last week too, and he wanted extra years, so we actually, no whammies, have all those years up there.
Nice, thank you.
And this is a really cool thing for the taxpayers, just an FYI, as it pops up, you can put what you pay in taxes and then calculate and show kind of where your money is going to, which is kind of a cool thing. I haven't really played with it too much yet, but a couple citizens have.
That'll be great. I look forward to digging into that maybe if it needs more, but seeing them side by side can definitely give some trends.
If you, right here, just so you see, this download financials right there.
Right.
You should be able, yep, right there. So you'll have actual,
Sure.
actual,
Oh, I like that.
budgeted. There should be an actual here. It just disappeared and we don't know where it went. And then that's the proposed.
Yep, and that, if you were in that wasn't in there about noon today.
Yeah,
I
we've
was
been
in there
working-
2 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
before the meeting, it wasn't in there, so
We've
it
been
wasn't in
working
there
our
too.
tails
Yes.
off to get it all in
They're
there.
getting after it.
Good, yeah, I mean, that's definitely gonna
sure.
help us be able to zero in on some things. And that plus and minus over previous years can definitely give us a view of trends. Let's see if there's one other one here. I think I'll hold off on questions on the individual line items right now. Nicole, you do your thing, and then I might have the questions answered or not, we'll see.
So at this time, I mean, Nicole's already in there, but what we're gonna do is just kind of run, and the mouse was kind of, it wasn't connected from over here, so she's gonna stay at the computer. She'll kind of go through, this is really for the public as well, but also for council members and everybody else that may be watching, but how you can check in the budget, and there's, this will continue to grow and get better as we'll develop a digital budget book as we get more, all this information in there. And again, this isn't something that happens overnight. This finance staff has really done a lot of good things to get this to this point. But Nicole, if you want to kind of jump in and get going on this.
Sure, so this is our homepage for the city, and the citizens, as well as council members and anybody else, can click in here and see kind of our budget to actuals and our proposed budget. And I just kind of wanted to tell everybody while we're recording kind of where you go. So you go to the departments and you'll go to the financial services page right here, and then you'll see this little tag, ClearGov. And then it'll say you're leaving that site, which is okay. You're going to the ClearGov site, so you just go proceed to site, and then you're going. This is our own personal budgeting site. You'll see there's an overview where you can look down and you can, if you want to see the entire budget, you can. And we're in 25 right now. You can go to all funds and you can view the different breakdowns of the revenues and expenses here. I'll just click on expenses really quick, just to kind of see. And as you saw, we have all the actuals up from 2019 through 2023. 2024, right now the budget's only showing up, but we do have actuals through June 30th. They do not have a real-time API right now, so after my staff closes out a month, then we upload it to ClearGov and then process it on their end, and it usually is about a 5 to 7 day turnaround. So right now through June 30th, we should have July up soon. So when you go down, you can look. I kind of like looking, this shows like public safety, culture and rec, but I kind of like by object a little better. Because it'll give you personnel services, capital outlay, a little more kind of what I know council is looking at as to what breaks down our budget.
If you click capital outlay right there, does it take you to?
No, you have to go like, if let's just say, what has some good capital outlay? I don't know if general fund doesn't have a lot of capital outlay, but if you scroll down, like, so there's that, and then here you can view the breakdown and what makes that up. And then you can dig and drill down deeper and you can go, and then this is where you can actually see when you go to more detail, your actual line items. So like, for example, let me go back to expenditures. We'll do general fund, by object, and then let's say personnel services. You view the breakdown, then it'll, all right, there's public safety, and then it'll be police, fire. You can go in there.
And that more detail under, let's say just that one there.
Yep,
More
and it'll give
detail.
you each single line item and how much is budgeted.
Right, and one thing that this doesn't do, that maybe through the use of those tabs up there, I'll definitely have to play with them, but maybe along with the lines of Travis's thinking, it'd be nice if right there in that same, beside those columns is 24, 23, 22,
Right.
I can see that trend.
I don't think, and I'll have to ask my rep at ClearGov, that you'd be able to see it right there, but you can see it in here. You'll be able to see all of that. You'll be able to filter by the department and look down and be able to look at
Gotcha.
it through this. And then if you need to PDF this, a lot of times it's really easy to just take this and scroll that over. And then you'll have your pages, and then it makes it a lot easier to print to PDF in the way it looks.
So,
But if you need any help with that, just give me an email.
no, I mean, I definitely I prefer this, that's why I asked for a PDF of it, and then when I got it, 2 hours ago, it didn't have this, so now that's gonna help, but kind of circle back to the beginning here, it's like this, if that ClearGov, and I thank you for checking on it, you said you'll check and see if they can get it to show up in there.
Yeah,
'cause-
I think that this is just their format, that the way they have the tabs, but I'll ask my point of contact.
Right, with several columns
Mm-hmm.
that match up with that Excel, because otherwise, we're just gonna be back over to the Excel, which I don't mind, I like it, but, so, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, it really takes a lot of just kind of playing in here a little bit. As we get through budget season and fiscal year 25 starts, there is a strategic planning module, which I told a lot of you last week that met with us, where I can actually connect the accounts that go with our strategic plan or your strategic plan. So what's going towards the getting rid of the vagrants and all the other things, and you'll be able to see how the revenues and expenses are working towards your goals. So that should be really cool, but that's future Nicole's problem. I'm just trying to get through this.
You can also, you can call ClearGov, and they'll do a webinar with you, 15, 30 minutes. They'll walk you through anything that you want to know. It's quick and easy.
They're
So
really
far,
helpful.
everything that I've seen, I've liked the graphs, I've liked the color of the presentation and all that, but again, I was missing this, but now with the addition of,
All the
those
years.
columns up there, if we could, I don't need to call, they wouldn't listen to me, I don't think, anyway, they probably listen to you two, but to say if we could have those columns by that more detail, that would be great, but I don't mind going.
I'll
into this as
ask if
well.
it's available.
That digital budget book, like I mentioned earlier, that'll probably be ready here in the next month.
Well, the
or-
digital budget book will be ready by the first September meeting. So this is Transparency Center. So if you remember last year, people that have been on council for a while, during the August meeting, we only give the operations. We don't give the entire comprehensive budget until September because it takes a lot to work on. We just balance the budget by August. So this is just showing the balanced budget. And then what we'll have, it'll kind of look like this a little bit, but it'll you'll click here and there'll be like how Jeff has his city manager message in the comprehensive. I have my budget message in there. It has the full chart of FTEs and where they're going and where they're coming from. So it'll look more like a book
The
in
whole
September.
spiral binder you were referring to, that we used to get.
Yeah, that big old thick, yeah.
Just not
And
there
then
yet,
it'll
so,
also, where how it says download financials here, when you click on the digital budget book, it'll be download the book. So if you want to print out a tangible book, you can do that. So it'll look a lot different in September.
So if you want, because you obviously have, the access behind the door, we're
Right.
looking at it as you present it, and that's good, because we can't tinker with it, but if you wanted to go in there and adjust the entire budget up or down, you can plus or minus a top number, 3%, 1%. and it'll apply to-
I can change the amounts, I can't change percentages. I can go in and update the amounts that we put in. It's kind of like I guess like a cloud Excel, maybe
Sure.
they would talk, and it automatically populates and all that, so that, but I don't think I can do
So,
it by percentage.
right, I was gonna say across the board, the reason I'm asking is I brought it up once or twice and might make a motion today if, yes, this is a special meeting, so no motions today?
No, it's a
or-
workshop.
No motions today. So, maybe direction to staff again, because that's kind of where I went the first time. We've got a charter amendment related to the budget that went through lots of discussion and negotiations between staff and the watch group and back and forth. And, got it to acceptable means by both parties. And, I've hinted that maybe it'd be a good time to, go ahead and fill in those numbers, because we've heard, it may cause a problem. We've got the election coming up in November. If there was gonna be a problem with it, or there's not gonna be a problem with it, it'd be probably nice for us to be able to go to voters and say, didn't cause any problems. We applied the charter amendment that was passed. We've now got our proposed budget before us. Here is that charter amendment applied to the proposed budget, and look what happened. I mean, I will mention I know we went through it some back then, but, I know, there's some budgetary gimmicks, for lack of better words, it's just floating monies back and forth and whatnot. But when there was a lot of people that were up in arms about getting rid of the fire assessment fee. And so through much work on council and discussion, we got rid of the fire assessment fee. And then as Councilman Schmidt did so well at that meeting, after the passing, went to the fire department and asked them, did you lose any staff? No. Did you lose any supply budget? No. So, we're talking $1.3 million, I think it was supposed to be projected at. And to think that something that was so objected to by many, and the sky's falling, we did it and nothing happened. So I know there's been similar sentiments about the charter amendment from some. We got to a point of agreement, so now would be a time to apply the language of that charter amendment to this and let us look at both. That would be my request to staff, and I don't know if any fellow council members would like to chime in and either confirm or deny their wish for that to happen.
Just in the response to that, the charter amendment is broken up into 3% personnel and 3% operational. So the 3%, as you all saw, there was a 10.9% increase in health insurance. So bringing back a separate budget to include a cap at 3%, there would be some positions, some changes in health insurance that we would have to provide there would be some changes for sure. 1.3% would have to be reduced in personnel, which is before you guys. The operational, on the other side of that, a lot of the maintenance, a lot of the projects that we do, that would have to be a lot of the things that we presented, we would not be able to do some of them because you got to turn around and maintain them and staff taking care of things. So it's not just as easy as just changing some numbers.
And just so for on staff side.
Sure.
Once we balance this budget, the whole next month is connecting that budget into the digital budget book. And my staff would not have a lot of time to create multiple budgets. That would be something that, if it was, we would have had to have started with this budget.
Right, I had asked about it, didn't make a motion on it, so.
If we left here today and it was the council wanted us to drop our budget to what the charter amendment is going forward in November, that's something that we would have to do if it was approved by council, but,
I think more or less what you're asking is let's build our budget however we're gonna build our budget. After we've got it built, then we can apply the principles of the charter amendment to it and see what it's going to affect, essentially.
Well, that's a good point, but I like what you said, Jeff. It theoretically, because I do have some line item questions in here, and I was listening to what you said about cutting, and I know that oftentimes, people will address cutting personnel when there might be other places to cut, and it might be an accuracy of forecasting projected revenue and income, and that's definitely where my questions are going to be coming from today. Saw once again, compared to last year, some large discrepancies. Always had good answers as to it, but I do want to go through, I've probably got, I'm going to say 20 line items. I got a question about the projected, actual, and then the new 2025, and I'm not putting it together in some of them. So instead of, talking about cutting staff or projects, I'm interested in finding out why such large discrepancies sometime occur, and certain line items, that's all. I just want to
Sure.
know what that is, and can those two work together that, oh my, if we do get better on forecasting, then we can do both. It's the and, not the or. We can cut the budget and keep everyone, but we're tightening the belt is oftentimes what we, got to tighten the
Well,
belt.
the revenue projections don't have anything to do with the charter amendments. The revenue projections are completely, the charter amendment specifically directs 3% personnel or whichever's less, if it's the cost of living. So the revenues don't have anything to do with it. We could have $80 million in revenues coming in. The charter amendment says 3% or less in personnel. So the revenues are completely separate than that. So we may project wrong or higher or even lower, but that's irrelevant on the personnel.
So with, Travis, with that thought there in mind too, I definitely, want to see as soon as possible a budget, what it would have looked like had the charter amendment been in place. I know you got staff, I know you got time, and as far as, getting this current one together, I'm not saying replace it, although that's, if it could happen, it would be nice to have seen that, to know, man, the charter amendment, like the fire assessment fee, was not the end of the world. Actually, now we think about it, with this current increase of the 10.9% on that, and with the potential forthcoming charter amendment, it would be really nice to see the charter amendment applied, maybe even before we adopt a budget, but.
Well, I mean, and again, just my own personal comments on that. Council has that ability to do that any budget year. You could say, hey, Jeff, I want you to put a budget in with personnel at 3% or less. And I think Nicole and I had mentioned that in the meetings that we had with the charter amendment. So, and that was the whole thing along. The council could do that anyway. Now it's going to the public in November. So, I guess we need council's direction on, do we do it without the public's vote or not? I mean, we just need some direction. I wouldn't recommend doing two completely different budgets unless we have council's direction to do that, because it's not as easy as just erasing some numbers.
Well, you said two things, personnel and what was the other?
Operating.
Operating.
General fund operating expenditures.
Expenditures, so I'm probably oversimplifying it, but now that I've downloaded the Excel spreadsheet, I've got some people I know that do work in Excel, and they can apply, a reduction of each of those two numbers, or limit them to 3% growth. That's what it is, right? It's not cutting it 3%, it's limiting it to 3% growth per year, per budget.
That's correct, but you gotta think, there's not just a variable of mathematics in it. It's depending on what that account is, what the city needs, what kind of personnel we need, what kind of maintenance we need. So it's not linear. You can't just go pop.
Well,
I mean, you can mathematically, but
you
it
can
doesn't make sense.
mathematically, and when you apply it mathematically, then we get to talk about those things that we won't need, whether it's personnel, it's personnel, was personnel, what was the other one?
Operating.
Operating, so if, for example, that was passed and it was limited to 3% increase, we apply that 3% increase, then we go look at what you've proposed here and what we get there, and we go, oh, we didn't lose anybody in that department. We didn't lose anybody in that department. We actually just put less in reserves. That might be an option that we all like. Do we put less in reserves than what's projected? Because it's interesting to see how it'll all come together with these line items, from the revenue being projected 40% higher than what actuals came in at, and then expenses being projected differently as well. There are percentages there, and I'll look at each line item there and see if I can get some feedback. But if it's those two items, 3% cap, what are those two today, Nicole, if you know, what are those two line items right now as a whole? How much of an increase from last year?
We have for personnel across all funds, it's 4.37%. And then in the general fund operating expenses only is 4.33%.
So 1.3 difference is what we're talking about
in each.
in each one of those, right?
Mr.
Okay.
Schmidt?
Yes, you know, I know we're just talking, to respond to you, I don't think I'm ready to see all the gears change back to that. We haven't made it even to the first millage rate, you know, budget hearing. But I think and maybe I'm interpreting you wrong, what I think would be helpful, which I think would be good information for us to get out to the community, what would be impacted in September 10th, when we, you know, get further down the budget cycle, but not changing it within the whole ClearGov system, very early in the phase for that, but getting some information that we can get out to constituents and residents that, hey, what am I voting on in November? What are we gonna lose, what are we not gonna lose, without having to get into ClearGov and change everything, like you said, for
Just
staff
like
and
a
time and
summary
effort.
of kind of a
Yeah.
very high level,
That's
40
it.
feet.
September 10th and 24th, we still have a couple of good business meetings to talk, hearing one of the tentative millage rate, which may take some changes to ClearGov, or however that all works out. But just to kind of respond, I'm not ready to see the whole ClearGov change, but let's get some information during the budget process on what the impacts would be if this were to pass in November.
Sure.
Thank you, David. And I think I bumped across the answer there at the end.
1.3.
1.3. We got an increase of 3%, and only in government can they say that an increase is, you know, not a full increase is a decrease, but we're increasing 3%, not 4.3. It's 1.3%. That's what would be cut
Well,
from those two.
what we can do is different scenarios, because it's 0 to 3%
difference.
depending, so it could be 0 too.
And y'all will change that depending on how hearing 1 and hearing 2 goes. I mean, we'll get there.
Right.
Thank you.
Nicole, do you want to do yours now?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of wraps up.
Yeah, we dove in there pretty good.
I mean, that was really kind of give an overview in front of the camera and council members as well. But, you know, really, this is kind of your time. Directors are here, obviously Nicole here. If you guys have questions for any of us, now's really the time to answer some of that. Some of you talked about some projects, you know, we've got those jotted down. We will bring those back in the September 10th budget and highlight those as things that were added from this point. But
Yeah, I do. I mean, and before we race through it again really quick, I'll say it again. I mean, there's just that one slide that had all the projects, you know, and I know it took a lot of effort for these folks behind us to get it to you to present this. I know we still got some more to do, so thank you all for getting it to this point. It was a great presentation. If we can accomplish half of that stuff within the next budget year, that's awesome, hopefully all of it. But a few questions. How much more TDD money this year compared to previous year we projecting?
we're projecting a little bit decrease in half cent and TDC this year.
We mean for revenue.
Revenues, yeah,
Okay.
projected revenues.
So projected revenues is a decrease.
Is
compared
that
to-
inside our 12.5% or outside of our
12.5%.
The TDC revenue
Well,
was-
that's because that's a promissory note for the
the promissory,
Greens,
okay.
so yeah.
But as far as that guaranteed 12.5%, since the TDD expanded countywide and that deal was worked out, that's a what percent decrease from 2025 compared to 2024?
It was down, it's about 80,000 in TDC, but we typically get our projections from them, and obviously it's not down to the dollar, so it could very well be, they send us a projection of $785,000 that we would get this year, and that's how we kind of base our requests on that. We did the 2 large fields, $20,000 for concerts in the park, and $65,000, which is to repay for the maintenance on that complex.
But as far as that guaranteed percentage that we get each year?
That's
It's
it.
about
And
80,000
we may
less.
get
About
more than,
80,000
we
less.
may get more than that as the year goes on, just depending on,
Because sometimes we have the separate requests, like for an example, the turf grass. That's a separate pot of money that TDC has that we're
That was-
lobbying for and going after, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But that guaranteed money that we're getting each year, is that
and we've got,
80,000 less?
yeah, that's exactly right.
All
We've
right,
got to pick some projects out that affect tourism, and it's tourism usable, and some of those fall into that category. And it was a long process to submit the forms and get them approved. They take it to their Board of County Commissioners, and then
Okay. And then sales tax, same question. How much more or less this year compared to last. The sales
I'm
tax.
pulling it up now.
It's a little bit
for-
less, I
If we
believe.
don't have it now, we're really early in the budget process, but just
Yeah.
want to get this information out
Last year
there.
was 2,509,000,
back.
this year was 2,370,000, so it's down about 130,000.
And that's just sales, correct?
Right.
That's it for now. Thank you.
And now, and now that's not money that, and we don't spend that every single year. With the money, if we only spend $800,000 in half cent sales tax, the remaining goes in the fund balance for half cent. So, next year, if we elect to do a Hollywood Boulevard at $3.2 million, we would use the half cent sales tax for that project.
Gotcha.
Just out of curiosity, can you pull up that half-cent sales tax fund to see what the reserves are sitting in it?
I do not have that number right off the top of my head. I can get it from my comptroller and email you guys, though, what we have, what's sitting there right now.
Don't hold me to this, but I do remember last time we talked about it, there was anywhere between 4 and 5
Yeah,
million.
4 and 5 million, somewhere around there. But I can email you guys that.
And again, those were, that's a fund where that's something the community sees, and those are projects that the future projects that we all saw up there on the board, and some of the ones that we're proposing to, some of that half cent dollars will go towards that.
And if you just see here in this breakdown, you can, I can't, I'm so blind. You can see kind of what we have budgeted in there, and then this is what balances the budget right there. So that's going into the half cent fund balance. That says undesignated retained earnings, right?
It's on your screen, isn't it?
No. The screen's totally different.
Yeah, it says that.
So I'm like squinting, yeah. So that's kind of what we've budgeted, and then that is what we're putting into fund balance for throughout the year. You guys say, hey, we want this project done, and you guys approve it, and I pull it out of fund balance and we add it to the budget.
Gloria, go ahead.
I have a project I want you to think about, and I've already put this in your ear.
Okay.
Our senior centers are, we closed our senior center from that building where the science center, which is booming with business there. But our seniors, their activities are, I'm not seeing what I want to see in our recreation department. And we talked about, there's a porch back there. They have one little room designated for their senior, but that has mold in there now. But it's crowded, and it's smaller than this room here. It's maybe not even half of this right here. And the seniors are having to share with the multipurpose room over there, which has all the exercise things and all the other things that go on over there. I don't have a plan or what, but I want us to expand on our senior group and make more activities. I want to see everything, every month have a senior month, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, we did talk about that earlier. We have on the porch back there's some areas that we can look in. That would be definitely a capital project, but something that we possibly looking at maybe enclosing a portion of that to make another. I think if we could all do that, me personally, if we could do the recreation complex again from day one, it would definitely be to get some more meeting room space. But that's some things we can definitely look. We actually did, when we looked at updating it to be a emergency operations center and getting it qualified to meet those expectations,
yes.
would be to develop a room in the back behind those racquetball courts next to the gym on that patio. But the mold is the, and Tiffany will tell you, the problem is they go in, the people are cold, and they go in there and they turn the air conditioning off, and then the walls and stuff start sweating
I
and
haven't
stuff.
got there yet. I'm old, but I haven't got there yet.
That's the problem.
But we're utilizing that all-purpose room at the library for the seniors with their activities over there, because we don't have room at the recreation center. So I'd like to initiate a project to have a designated senior, not just that little bitty room, because they're getting kicked out of that all-purpose room all the time, and have projects going on.
Mr. Schmidt, go ahead.
And, I know there's a stack of TDD proposals that Mr. Jeter's lobbying hard for and trying to get money, and I know there's already probably more proposals being worked on, but I know the snowbirds travel. I'm sure we can find a way to be compliant with the tourists and
I'm getting a lot of.
try to get some money out of it.
Yeah, well, just like our snowbirds, and thank you for working with us so that they tried to reserve the pickleball courts on Jet Drive, and we diverted and put them over there down at the Holmes, the end of Holmes over there. They say,
Yeah,
thank you,
they
thank you.
did a good job. The recreation staff did a really good job of doing separate times and stuff, and it really worked out.
Yeah.
Really
So-
good.
So if you look on that, we need a designated senior. Go up to Niceville. You know, there's a lot of people down here that are paying $80 a month to go up to their senior center up in
Right.
Niceville.
Yep,
And I want to bring them back here.
Plus gas, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, with the gas. But
Factor that in.
if you haven't been up there,
I know.
yeah.
Not yet.
Well,
I can make it up there one day. I just want to, and I know this is probably in there, again, I haven't gone through line by line on the budget, but, you know, it's, in the 7 years I've been involved in this process, some of the easiest things that the city does that are the most impactful, at least to the feedback that I receive, have been sidewalks and speed feedback signs. And I know I talk about them probably too much, but it's because it's something that I hear from people all the time, like, oh, this is great. I got a sidewalk in my neighborhood. Or we got a speed feedback sign on this road that everyone in this neighborhood thinks is the only road in the city that everyone speeds down. So it's impactful, and it's something that really makes a difference in communities that residents can see, like, hey, this is the city government spending tax dollars on something that I really care about, which are sidewalks and speed feedback signs, and obviously there's many other things. These projects that we saw listed up here today, I share the same thoughts, man. It's so much work that we have no idea how much work y'all have put into that, and they're major, and they're great, and they're important. But I just want to make sure as well that we're still overly funding sidewalks, and we're still have a plan to continue to put speed feedback signs in on our roadways that are heavily trafficked, and probably have a speed limit that's too high if you asked anyone in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, we,
Just to kind of piggyback a little bit off of Nick, what you were saying, because I was going to kind of go down that road too. I
Not too fast.
like sidewalks, but apparently we've been budgeting for more sidewalks than we have the ability to do.
Well, we've been contracting.
So, but still, even with contracting, we've been doing more than we've been able to do. So I want to do as many sidewalks as we possibly can, but I may not want to over budget the sidewalk department, because I think maybe these last couple of years where we haven't been able to get it all done, if we shifted that money maybe more towards some of these road projects, we might be able to get another road in, or 2 roads in a year, or something like that. And
I'd be all for that.
you know, I think that the road thing is you'll see one road get done, and then everybody will talk about how good it is, and everybody's beating on your door, when's the next road that we're gonna get done? And I know he's got a big, long list of them, and I'm pretty sure we're using a contractor for that, and I'm pretty sure that we can get a lot done if we give them more money, or allocate more revenue towards it, because I'd imagine that whoever we're using can lay more than $500,000 of road in a year very, very easily. So I would kind of maybe want to budget sidewalks to the extent that we think that we can do, and then maybe that extra money that we've been talking about, put it over, or maybe use some more of this half-cent sales tax so we can get some more of these roads done.
Yeah, and those numbers, with the half-cent sales tax, with the fund balance that we have in that category, I mean, we can use that as a maybe a designation in the budget, but if we can't do any more sidewalks, we can earmark another 20,000 to streets, or to a street or something, because it's out of the half-cent sales tax fund.
I know,
And
like
if it's a
last year,
larger
like
project, we would just come back to council.
250 grand, I think, that we over budgeted for sidewalks, am I correct?
We put 50 in there this past year.
50, or maybe we budgeted 250 overall, and we could do 50. There was
that
quite a
sounds
bit.
more like it.
Either way, so paving of sidewalks or streets, it sounds like it's gonna get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna get
You
done.
got 2 votes for that.
Can TDT pay for streets too?
Absolutely.
TDC?
Absolutely.
Go pay for everything else.
Drive on them, right?
Yeah.
There's a big impact they do to the streets.
They bring them to the hotel.
Laurie, go ahead.
Talk about traffic studies, aren't we? We already did Ferry Park and all that. Weren't we supposed to go across field over that way to do the traffic study this next time?
This one was generated from the heavy bridge backups
Yeah.
south of Hollywood. I mean, Daniel can speak.
Yeah, so originally we were
we were hesitant because of bridge construction, right? Like we wanted to let the dust settle, but I don't think we can really afford to keep the dust settle. Based on the emails. So going by volume of questions, comments, concerns to my department and probably even the city managers, we leapfrogged one over, right? And unless we do two, but we were picking one on the schedule. So it flip-flopped from, it got jumped by the Elliott Point neighborhood, which is the south of Hollywood.
Yeah, where Magnolia and Elm and
Yes.
it's getting, yeah. Oh, okay, I understand that perfectly, but I have people that are over in the Wright area, like Wright Parkway,
Yes.
Homes, and that are really requesting a study over there, and I've been promising them, and now I'm having to renege.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's more over there, or there's nothing saying we can't do two. It was just
Well, we had
trying
some
to be
killings over
responsible.
there, and,
Yeah.
you know,
This is the first year, I will say, and I think Jeff maybe
Accidents.
touched on it and piggyback off what Travis said, and Nick. So there is a CIP to pay for the improvements that come out of there. Anybody that was in those meetings where we talked about them or wrap-ups know that there was like short-term improvements that are stuff we can basically, I say, pull off the shelf, sign shop, go through. There was medium where we had to budget for, and then long-term is stuff like, like that Denton corridor that we had. But the medium stuff is what you see in the CIP improvement, buying the speed feedback signs. Kenwood had one, right? The Ferry Park one came out with 7, right? Like, so and they're at, 8,000 apiece. Those we couldn't just absorb them all in a year and not know about it. So there's a CIP to address those on there, as well as do another study. And then the roads and the sidewalk stuff, there's funding mechanisms for. So I think that's.
And I was just gonna put in there real quick, when, in September, in the digital budget book, you'll kind of see the traditional CIP where you'll see like his sidewalks and his roads, and it'll have the projected 5-year out. So you'll kind of see what his plan is for that 5 year.
okay.
Mr. Schmidt?
How fast or how could it even scale up if there was more funding? I know you mentioned earlier on the 500,000 that's currently in there now for resurfacing. But if there was more funding allocated, could the contractors, how fast could they scale up to do more, or what would that look like?
Yeah, so resurfacing is usually done, the resurfacing annual contract we have mobilizes basically once and keeps going. So that has been more, I guess, efficient probably than trying to supplement our sidewalk with different contractors, just because it's a little bit more personal, right? It's people's yards, it's things that go around. It's hey, you might have to fight. We've politely told somebody not to come back, and rebid them again. So there's that one's a little bit more, I guess, probably interpersonal. So it has lagged behind, but like the asphalt one is everyone is well equipped, like Travis said, to come in and to keep going.
And to scale up, to do more.
Yes.
Okay, volume if they needed to. Awesome. Okay, thanks. I wanted to piggyback off the piggyback. Is what I was doing. I don't like piggyback.
My back hurts.
I understand.
But again, that's something, those are passive sales tax projects those street repaving, and those are really, really good projects for that, because the people get to see what
Absolutely.
those dollars are going for. So if it's something we want to, and we mid-year, that's something, hey, we get ahead and we're going, and we need some other roads and want to do some other roads, that's something council can say, hey, do it. You can say it now or even in mid-year, we just have to bring it back.
Thank you.
Just kind of one more thing, me and you talked about the other day, that I believe can make an instant impact that maybe can kind of solve a few problems. Our medians within the city limits, we obviously know that our medians look better than the counties, but that's because our medians are cut. But it probably would be nice to have some grass in our medians instead of just, dirt and cut weeds. I would like to see what we could do as far as grant funding and anything that we would have to do out of pocket. I know that we have irrigation in quite a few of these medians out front here, getting the irrigation up and rolling, getting some grass in there, because I think that can be an instant thing to making your city look good. It's something that people can look at and pretty instant impact. And, you know, I think it handles blight. I think that, you know, as we come, you know, a little bit more, I don't know that heavy-handed is the word, but a little bit more, enthusiastic, yeah, is probably a good way to put it, about code enforcement. You know, nobody's gonna be able to run in and say, look, you know, don't come here and tell me not to, or to clean up my property when look at your stuff around town looks like crap as well.
For sure.
You know, it's kind of a leading by example thing. So I would like to see what we could do on that aspect to get those things up and running, to get them look nice. We do have some really good looking ones downtown and on Eglin, and my understanding is that irrigation's up and running on those, which is more than likely why that's the case. So these ones that we do already have irrigation in, seeing what we gotta do to get them up and running, and the ones that don't have irrigation, what we can do to get irrigation up and running in.
Yeah, our pumps are, and we talked about this last week, obviously, but we've got pumps that work. A lot of the irrigation lines just are out of commission. So just to go back a little bit, the reason the counties, the non-incorporated areas, and we get $42,946 or something from DOT to maintain the medians and everything. And they basically pay us to mow it like 14 times a year. So that's, the non-incorporated areas have a contractor that does it, and they get paid to mow it 14 times a year, and it's this high and out in the streets. We get $42,000, but we mow ours weekly, just because they would look like those areas. So we will have, here in the next few weeks, we're in the process of getting a quote to redo all the irrigation just on 98, maybe this year, run it all the way down from the entrance of Fort Walton, you know, coming from Mary Esther to, you know, past City Hall, those medians, and then get some, you know, brand new sod and, you know, some shrubs and things like that. There's a ton of trees. I drove down there 98 today, and we got a ton of trees that are nice. Prune them up, nice grass. So I agree with you 100%. So we'll get a price on that, bring it back on the 10th.
Mr. Walker?
You mentioned pumps for the irrigation. Is it just the standard lawn pump, well pump?
It is.
Okay.
Other questions, comments?
It may be electrical, it may be the piping, you know, who knows?
You know, I mean, I do have more questions. I just wanted to piggyback on that, but I'm willing to go last, for sure. But, you know, last year, one of the issues that came up that I was interested in, how it happened, how it came to be, and you shared several emails with me regarding the utility bills at the cemetery, and how we came off of the well, and then we started receiving it free from the city and for a year or two, and then they said, oh, this is way back when, no, we can't do that anymore, and it went from, we'll give it to you for free, to I think last year the budgeted amount was $130,000, and I'm like, what, for water? Yeah, well, we're getting it from ourselves. So, you know, and that, so I didn't know if it was a citywide approach to irrigation, we're gonna get it from ourselves, or is it just the cemetery that we get it from ourselves?
Yeah, it's just a cemetery, everything else on a well. All of our fields, golf courses on reclaimed water. The actual city water is at the cemetery for the stainage, but everything else is on a pump. All the parks, they're all on pumps.
Right, and so, you know, I did, as you and I were having those conversations back last year, I went and spoke with the guy the company that put the well in, and he says it's don't quote me on the time, but it's about 130 feet deep, which I think his statement was, there's no cleaner water on earth than at 130 feet. So when that came up, and then I was thinking about it even over the year, I'm like, well, we're still, if we're getting water from the city, of which we budgeted $130,000 for, we're still having to maintain the system, the heads, the lines, and all that stuff. And if we start to irrigate new space, we have to put lines in and all that. So really the only difference is we disconnected a 5 horsepower vertical pump that was providing us free water. You got electric to run that pump, but I'm not sure that it's anywhere close to the amount of water charges, but it is one of the lines items I want to go in here. So I'll just step away. If y'all want to keep talking, I'll just save all my stuff for last.
I do.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to say thank you. Like Councilman Meade said earlier, asked 4 or 5 years to get insurance quote back, and we kind of got it this year. I feel like a couple years ago we sat in here and said, hey, we want ClearGov, and I know that Nicole's team has worked really hard to make that happen. So, and that's a once in a I don't know, that software will be outdated in what, 15, 20 years? But that's not gonna happen every year, so they've had to do extra work over here to make that happen. Obviously, we'd love to quote insurance every year, but I just wanna say thank you, because I go back to sitting here a year or two ago, and most of these, whether it's a project or whether it's ClearGov, these are all just thoughts and ideas and on paper, and y'all worked really hard to get a lot of things done, even going back to vagrancy and, all of that cool stuff. So I'm just, I'm excited to see what we can accomplish over the next year. A lot of good stuff.
Mr. Mead, go ahead.
Phone call earlier today, and a gentleman that works downtown, talking about what improvements we've had. Things continue to look better. They've been taking advantage of some of the CRA. A lot of the stuff that we planned to happen is actually happening. I know I mentioned to you guys, but I was talking with Tim Bulldog up in the city of Crestview. They were going over their software, how it compares all these budget numbers. I know that's how they did it at the gas district, and that's what I really wanted when I stepped back on the council over here. It was very exciting to see it come to fruition. So I know I didn't initiate it or anything of that nature, but I'm very appreciative to have it there. So thank you. The budgeted, the actual, previous years.
Sure.
Very helpful.
All right. Mr. Walker, I know you have several more.
Yeah, I do. It's all along these lines. And yes, I too am thankful to see a new system come out for us. And I know that over time it'll just keep getting better. So it's promising to me to hear that Travis last week brought up a concern and it was fixed in a week. That's impressive. So that's a good start. So if we can see, if we all notice some other improvements or changes for it that.
And if you guys are digging down in it and see something, let me know. It's such a robust program
Right.
and all the different things. So, I mean, sometimes ClearGov messes up on their end and their entry too. So if you see something, just let me know.
And did you say that at the end of the month you download the financials or upload the financials there and then they take it and put it into their?
Yeah, my staff will reconcile all the bank accounts and do all their adjusting journal entries and all that stuff. And then we have this old antiquated program called Cognos that my comptroller will download so it could fit into the whatever format ClearGov needs to be able to upload on their end of whatever they do.
Mm-hmm. What would you say the biggest advantage to you and your department has been getting this?
For my budget analyst, is probably the one most affected by it because those spreadsheets that we were using before since 2005, it was very, very time consuming. She would have to have every single division and department open. There's formulas in all of them and she had to open the spreadsheets in a certain order, and if she messed that up, it would delete information or mess up information and unbalance information. So this, being in a real-time system, has helped her dramatically, and that frees her up to assist my staff in other ways.
So it saves you a lot of time.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, so, kind of for me to go back to the beginning that we're talking about if that charter amendment was applied, we're talking 1.3 in operations and 1.3 in personnel expenses. So that's not the 60 million. I don't know what those two numbers are, but operations and personnel are, do you know what those two totals are?
Yes. Personnel across all funds that's budgeted is $29,040,816.
So 30 million, and then what was the other one, operations?
General fund operations is $23,032,000, rounded.
So those two are 80%.
Right there, you got 50, yeah, that's 52 million right there.
That's 52 of the 60. So, yeah, 1.3%.
That's weird.
Well, you wouldn't have the.
That wasn't, no, wait, that's not
You
right.
wouldn't have utilities, you gotta take that out of it too.
Yeah.
It's okay, because I just, and again, the whole concept that I'm working on here is that when we might be faced with economic downturn, we might be faced with real estate, sales taxes, and other things downturning. We've got people that are struggling to pay the bills. Things keep going up. So it's time to sharpen the pencil in the budget world, right? You sharpen the pencil. So you go and say, where can I sharpen it? And you definitely, we all want to stay away from the personnel people if we can. If it means that we eliminate, 5 job slots that we would love to have and we're going to therefore budget for it, we might sharpen the pencil there, right? Couldn't you on personnel if you had 5 spots that you because I know we've had 18 over the last year, so just sharpening the pencil, and these are those questions I have both, I guess, Nicole primary, have you got it open over there, or up there?
Sorry, I'm getting used to not having the tangible thing too, so.
Okay.
Is there a specific
I'll
account?
start on
Is
page
it-
1, sorry.
There's a page 1?
Oh, I'm sorry, just your ad valorem taxes.
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh. Go ahead and ask the question.
You had budgeted, we had budgeted 7.557 for '24, and actual 6.8, so that's an $800,000 discrepancy.
Are you looking at fiscal year '24?
I'm looking at the printout of what came off of here, the financials off of here.
Oh, I don't have my actual up here because of the ClearGov thing. Can I come and look at what you're looking at?
Sure.
But that's probably been updated since she printed that out, right? I mean, you know what I mean?
No, that's interesting, because when I went and downloaded the,
I think, unfortunately, I think you're looking at fiscal year
no,
'24.
there you are, there, you've got it.
I know, but we don't have the
24 is supposed to say
actual.
actual, not budgeted.
Well, she's
The
got
actuals is in
budgeted.
like Narnia right now. I don't know where it went.
Oh, budgeted's not up there, is that what you're saying?
No, budgeted, see, budgeted
Is,
is.
but actual's not, of
Yeah,
24, I
of
got you.
24, but.
So, yeah, I've got actual, you know, the one I printed out, we had 7.5 and you had actual of 6.8, that's about an $800,000. Again, sharpening the pencil.
Well, there's 3 more months left in that we still are collecting the revenue.
Okay, so that's gonna be part of the discrepancy across all of these lines, it's
Yep,
just up to date.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's up
through
to date.
June 30th.
It's up to date through June 30th.
So
But certain revenues and expenses aren't linear, so you're not gonna get like 1/12, 2/12, 3/12. Yeah, like ad valorem, a lot comes in the beginning and then it trickles in, like towards the end of the year.
That's good to know, because then what I would like to do, and you and I've kind of bumped across it in conversations before, I'd like to know, are we on track or off track, right? You know, so right now, this shows budgeted full for '24, 12 months. We're only in through June. So for me to have the actual, it's only year to date. I would like to have matching, I'd like to have a matching column, right? Up to the 6th month, 7th month. You know what I'm saying? You got 12 months budgeted, and for me.
You're wanting to see seasonality, month-to-month difference.
A year-to-date for 2023 compared to this year-to-date 2024, how many million did we collect this month in 2023 compared to what we've collected this month in '24?
Because I really want to see whether we take from January, from the fiscal year up to current. I want to know, what did we project we would be at, and where are we at?
But I think what would help on something like that is seeing what we did this month last year.
Sure.
Were we 800 short last year, or were we 600, or have we already met our budget? If we'd met our budget, what's wrong? I
Right,
know
we
that
talked
doesn't
about
answer
that,
the
and I
previous-
said, well, what happens, you know, if we budget $120,000 for something, $10,000 a month, and in the 3rd month, we've spent $150. Well, it's a budget transfer. I'm like, well, I get that, but we've still got 7 months to go, 6 months to go. So that's where we had a discussion about, well, do the department heads get a notice that says, well, hey, we're over budget here by $50,000, guys, let's get together and talk about.
They do.
We do, yeah.
Yeah, they get a notification, says you need to fix this account, it's in the negative, you need to do a budget transfer.
then they'll
So
make-
that's
they'll make notes
probably,
for the next
if
year.
y'all got that already going on, that ability, that's something that, I would like to have access to, get a report of, copied on, or something, that if it's, because you're doing that, you're like, hey, in the 7th month, we're over budget. We budgeted for this amount, we've already reached it, so
It's
you're
more or
saying you
less
reach out to
about
the department head.
operational things. That would be more or less like operational things when something, breaks or something, a vehicle, or hey, this, we had an issue last year with, we had a bunch of issues on the last year of the leases with the golf carts, so there's a lot of maintenance, more than what we had thought and budgeted for, so we had to do a transfer out of another account and say, hey, we may not be able to do this to fix this. So that's just an example, but it's more operational things that have to get made up.
Yeah, so what would I need to do to get
The comparison report.
the comparison, you know, again, this is, I don't know, it's not really that helpful to me to know what we budgeted for the year, but we're only in the 6th month.
I mean, after Carol sends the budget to actuals, I can send council that spreadsheet as a whole. I mean, I'm not gonna
It'd
include you
be a
guys on the
start. Whatever you
operational,
said there,
like,
it'd be a
emails,
start.
but,
Do they have a way to break it down month to month, or is it just year to year?
I think we can do month to month. I have to ask my senior accountant.
And so when I was in there,
think?
I was
Yeah,
hoping
I'll
that I
check.
could click on one and see some either previous month or whatever else. So it's, again, if they're that responsive, if it's truly a, you know, robust system, maybe they're like, well, you're just at the basic, you know, you guys want us to make it so that you can expand that one cell for the last 12 months? Here, do it like that. Okay, great. So we might be at the
I
basic.
can ask, yeah.
Okay, great. And then, just then, that being the case, one that really in my mind that stood out because of the last year, I had that discussion about the cemetery. There's the cemetery right there. Utilities, which was part of that water, and I was surprised at the 130. And so year-to-date through June, is that from January or is that from October?
October.
So October to June, no, okay, so, and I don't know if it's just billing or what, but we budgeted 102,000, but year-to-date is only 11,000.
Utilities are wacky.
So,
And I know, just because after you brought it up last year, I've been working with my staff. So way back before a lot of my staff had been here, there was this allocation, and how they allocated it was really weird. Like, they're not allocating it to all departments and divisions. So like finance should get a part of utilities, but we don't pay any utilities.
Right.
So it's like a journal entry that's made at the end of each month that they kind of allocate everywhere. So this budget season, it's not going to be in this one, it'll be in the next. I'm doing it where they're making the entry to the 1,500, which is a non-departmental. So general fund will just have one utilities budgeted line. It makes less work for my staff, and I think it's allocated more correct. It's still all being paid under one thing, it's just accounting-wise not being allocated correctly, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think that if we can get that monthly or the report that you were talking about, and maybe where this grows as well, because so, like I said, that up to June, I want to see the months. Are we ahead or behind in that? Just curious, you know, how's it looking in that category on that one line
Right.
item? So thank you for that. Was there? You know, that it's hard for me to tell if we're being accurate or not because we're June to September, and accuracy matters when we're sharpening that pencil, and we may have to sharpen it 1.3% to whatever that number turns out to be on operations and personnel.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, again, this is a brand new software program, so I would say this time next year, you know, we're gonna be another year and a half into it, or a year into it, but 2.5 years into it, you know, by this time next year. So there'll be a lot more information, a lot more detail, and everybody will know a lot. It'll be like riding a bike.
Nicole, thank you for that idea, because I think if we all start getting that report monthly, I might not have time this month. He may have more time. He may have the more time, and he just really now, and you know, somebody's always interested in looking at it, and we might be able to come up with some more requests for improvements. Again, with Travis asking first, 1 week, they fixed it. That's a great sign in the software business. I've dealt with it some, and it's not always that fast.
Yeah.
And it's not always that fast, for sure. So that's a good sign. Thank you.
All right.
Can I interject while you're looking for?
No, I'm done. I'm not looking anymore.
I think he said what your points are really well. Your points are really well taken, though. Perhaps on a monthly basis, part of our agenda includes the financial summary. So we like the idea. We've got the huge step having the software in place. Maybe all this discussion, Ms. Neighbors can give us her recommendation, but perhaps it could be this year, for example, the 2023 year-to-date for the month, the actual 2024 year-to-date for the month. If there's a budgeted year-to-date, I don't know if we budget through the months, maybe some do, some don't, but if there's some of those higher level numbers to compare to one another, that would help on your question before, why are we 800 short? Well, we are because it's, but if we look at 23, well, that's consistent. Okay, well, that makes sense. So
It'll definitely
maybe
help.
now that we have all this put into a nice system, maybe we can start incorporating that into our monthly meetings, going over how our budget looks compared to what we plan for it to look year to date, and maybe even if we have a question, how did it look last year to date?
Yeah.
What did it change? Why did it, there's so many variables, it's hard to just put them on one spreadsheet. But maybe that would be nice that we could start reviewing on a monthly basis.
Yeah, and I think it'll just keep us informed as council members as to the financial goings and comings, because I know as she is the manager over there, and department head, she looks at it, and if she sees a negative red number, it catches your attention. It's like, oh, we're off. What happened? Do I know what happened? Jeff, what happened? It's like, oh, we had to buy the truck. Oh, okay. So, I mean, you might not, but we would.
Right.
You just see it, and you say, well, there's a negative. I don't know what it was about, but we're gonna look at it and go, oh, we had to get that truck, or whatever, raise, insurance increase. So it's exciting to think that our financial acuteness can be improved by this software.
I can see if ClearGov can produce that, so it's less work for me, that would be great if it could, but
I mean,
if
it's
not, I mean, we
similar-
could do it.
It's similar like when you look at your power bill, they give you the last month
Sure,
of the
right.
month and you can look at it. So yeah, I'm
I
sure.
wouldn't think comparing a year-to-date budget would be conducive. I think like the full budgeted amount versus the 23 and 24 year-to-date actual, because a budget, again, isn't linear, so you don't know. But you could still compare, June 30 of 23 to June 30 of 24. What do we budget in 23? What do we budget in 24? And kind of see the difference and kind of where we're trending.
And that's helped me in the past with other budgets. So just looking, if there's no, if we didn't anticipate, monthly budget cycles, look at it from last year, look at the actual, look at the budget, and if we could include that, and the more 5 minutes a meeting max,
Right.
you could go, I mean, I'd spend as much time as you wanted, but if you could give us the overview of it on a monthly basis, maybe we would be better informed, and I know we always appreciate it when you spark new conversations and thoughts.
Yeah, if I can quick fix it in ClearGov, I will, but if y'all could give me a little time, since we're just slightly busy in finance, because I would have to create a report for that, that'd be good. Fiscal year end and budget season, we're kind of slammed.
Quick question real quick. When do you think the API will be up running?
They said within the year, that's what ClearGov told us.
Is the API only gonna be, for a month-in posting?
No, it's like daily updates,
It's
from what I
daily.
understand, yeah.
So that's what I do. The second I get into work, I pull a daily doc.
Right,
It
like
shows
it.
all my major
Mhm.
accounts, and then I can see it from last year to this year, and I can see the discrepancies. And when I see a number's off, I go and click down in and chase the rabbit and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So that'd be
Yeah.
awesome
No,
if I
that'll
get
be
the
nice,
API
yeah.
up and running.
Well, on that month to month too, just thinking, just kind of visualizing what's happening there. I mean, I don't know if she would need to do it. And I don't know how much we're gonna be able to get in and tinker around with it in time, but hopefully more and more. But, I mean, if there's a line item on here for 7.557 in tax revenue millage, right? I can divide that by 12. I can divide that by 12. Now, that's
Right,
an
but-
annual payment. That's an
Yeah.
that's
Right,
an
but you
annual
gotta remember,
payment.
the most of the
a lot of
revenue comes in
seasonality.
November.
But like personnel would be a good example.
Yeah, something more linear.
We've budgeted $6 million, and monthly, that breaks down to a monthly, and we're like, ooh, we are ahead of the game. We're ahead of the budget. Ooh, gosh, we've gone in the hole in that one. What's going on here? I just think it's just gonna give us such great insight, so I'm excited about it, look forward to it. Thank you, Nicole and Jeff, and everybody in the departments.
Go ahead. While we're talking about software, Chief, is the police reporting software, is that up and running?
Yes, it is. It came up and running last month. There's a few loose ends that we gotta tie up. They're coming back on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week to tie up the loose ends. So everything's working really well. The officers like it. It seems to be a little bit more intuitive, just like the Clear Glove. It's a much more modern system. It's a Windows-based system. It's completely cloud hosted, so there's no local servers. So if for some reason the building went down, we had to evacuate, we had to go for a continuous of operation plan or something, we'd be able to log in from anywhere in the world as long as we had an internet connection. So it's working out very well for us, and hopefully after this week they tie up a few loose ends, and we're good to go.
Nice. And that does automated reporting and all that kind of stuff too, like we.
It does. There's also a outward citizen-facing module like ClearGlove has. We just want to have our internal stuff all up and running. And then once we get everything good inside, we'll turn on the outside module. So a resident could then log in and see crime in their area, see traffic tickets written, very similar to what you see on ClearGlove.
Yeah, very cool.
Good. All right. Anyone else? Well, this has been very, very helpful. Good discussion, really good input from everybody. Nicole, thank you very much. Thanks to your staff.
Mayor, I would like to acknowledge IT, they, with the chambers down, they set all this stuff up, and this doesn't happen quickly, so thank you guys to the whole IT department. That was
Yeah, absolutely.
exceptional.
A big thank you to the IT as well. Without anything further, though,